The reason for all of the drugs in wrestling, a lot of it could probably go back to adequate recovery. I'm not being adequate.
Yep.
Which I think is like a big culprit for a lot of people. And I was actually returning to trying to do some goals that I set for myself before that I have never fully achieved. So we'll end up splitting this podcast into two parts. So people listening now, this is part number 2. But reading more, right? So talking about recovery and trying to hit your goals that you've achieved or not achieved, right? So I recently started reading or rereading Atomic Habits again.
I actually got that as a Christmas gift. I need to crack it open. I've got like 5 other books I'm reading at the same time. So
Yeah. Oh, do you see this up here? I got this book as a Christmas.
peak one, yeah.
I It's part of my goal is to read more books in 2023. Right. So strengthen your mind. Somebody has asked me, like, I think it's my wife. She's like, don't say you just read a lot. I was like, I do. She's like, well, what are you
I,
reading?
I just picked this one up too. I think I've read this before, but
Oh,
I picked it up for that CEC course. I was like, okay, like I think I've read it. I remember liking it. There you go.
So,
I'm 99% sure I've read it before, but like, we talked power eating when we talked our books before, and that power eating is kind of my go-to nutrition one. So okay, I'll
which
reread that one.
edition of Nancy Clark? That's how we refer
Uh,
to it in the nutrition world. We just call it Nancy Clark because.
this is the 4th edition.
Okay, yeah, I got the same one. Um, yeah. So I know we talked about this on like books in our previous books episode, but the complaint that I had about stuff. Oh, that's fun. Look, there's highlights all in this. It's like I've read this before. But the like first chapter is a similar like annoying like general nutrition kind of thing.
Right.
I have highlights in it. I can see it, but there's stuff like um, instead of eating a repetitive menu with the same 10 to 15 foods each week, target 35 different types of foods per week. That's creating
But
winning eating plans per year.
but what does it say about fruits and vegetables?
You know, let's see here. There is a comparing fruits thing that's on page 14, right? So it's pretty early. Who would have thought that a dietitian would talk about fruits and vegetables in her book on sports nutrition?
Crazy. Yeah.
Wouldn't have guessed. But, either way, that's one of the reasons why I love the power eating so much because it doesn't do that. It's just
Right.
jump. You want to eat. You want to get stronger. You want to get bigger. This is what you got to do. So it just throws it in there, and then it goes on to talk about that for like 300 pages. But totally worth it. But yeah, so trying to read more. I think that's gonna do a lot of things like thinking about goals that are achievable for the new year, right? So we put out right before the year ended 4 things that you could do that are easily achievable in our minds, anyways, right? Like we're thinking about things that we think would be simple, which were um, adding a piece of fruit, adding a vegetable, going for a short walk, and visiting a farmer's market, right? So those things are really like heavily weighted on like the nutrition side of things, right? Um, and then the walk is pretty simple. But if you had to come up with another fitness thing, a simple one, right? What would you pick at?
Just add like kind of what I'm doing right now is adding just an additional workout. Like what's feasible into your life with that? Is it feasible to add an additional workout a day or 3 days or 5 days or 7 days? Like what are you doing? For instance, mine right now, I'm debating cutting. I haven't fully committed to it yet because I've liked the way I'm bulking up, but then I would kind of like to lean out. But then I've added an extra cardio session at least 3 days a week. If I get up, I work out, I hit weights every morning, usually 45 to 60 minutes. And by the time I'm done with that, I only have like 20, 25 minutes for cardio. So I'm trying to get an additional 20 to 30 minutes of cardio in 3 days a week. But for me, that's realistic. Like I have, 20 minutes, 3 days a week to do that. So finding, an add on, like if you're already working out 3 days a week, like I think that the walk is perfect for that. Like I do that as well. Like just, hey, can you just walk after a meal or after 2 meals for 10 to 15 minutes? Like figure out what's realistic.
Yeah. I was thinking about it. Um, there's a popular fitness guy that we both like that has like this method called the 50-50 method. It's in that book that Matt referenced in the books that we like. It's probably right. It's in the encyclopedia.
Yeah.
Um, but that I think is like one of the easiest things I've ever heard, and I've really like I did it, but I didn't do it consistently enough. But he talks about um 50 reps twice a day, like something super light.
Yeah. Like just body weight squats or push ups or yeah, just
And if you I did it with his example was like bicep curls, and he used like cans, I think, like just a regular um small can, like a 15 can, numbered 15 can. Don't ask me about can sizes. I shouldn't have said that. But either way, there's a little small like regular soup can, right? But the, the yeah. Um you just do 50
because somebody's gonna write to us and go, that's not the right size soup can. Like
it's not number 9. All right, so it's number of servings in a quart. That's why it's a 15. It's very annoying. But that oh,
this has been Ryan's useless information for the day.
yeah, that's that. Yeah, that I should put.
We're adding a new segment.
Yeah, they would things you didn't know that you really don't need to.
Perfect. We're seriously adding that. I'm all for that.
I did say something earlier at work, and somebody turned around like, "Is that a Jeopardy question?" I was like, "It could be." So, uh, but uh, like a small can and just doing 50 reps of it. Like if you had 2 cans, each arm, 50 reps of it twice a day. That's not going to take very long, but that's going to have like incredible benefits long term. Like if you definitely would be adding size because the amount of fatigue that you
Yeah, think about increasing your muscular endurance. Yeah, through that, it's pretty impressive.
So I think that is a simple thing, like something that you can do that's like a really lightweight, easy thing to do for 50 reps. Or so um I dislike necessarily a number of reps in a time period, but just setting yourself up for like you have 10 or 15 minutes. How many reps of insert exercise can you do? We mentioned that back in our you only have 30 minutes to work out what do you do video. But I feel like if you, like Matt said, with the extra 20 minutes 3 times a week for his cardio, if you did some kind of resistance exercise for 10 or 15 minutes and you just added that in 2 or 3 times, like in a week, that's an extra 45 minutes of resistance training for you right there. And I think that's something that is easily achievable on the fitness side of things, like coupled with the 15-minute walks. If you did 15 minutes of resistance exercise and you did that twice a week, how much time are there that 2 45-minute chunks? What is that? Does that get to you? Oh, that is the recommendations for the adequate exercise for a week for Americans. 2 blocks of 45 minutes total, or 3 chunks of 15 minutes across. We mentioned that in the what's the shortest workout that you can do and still count. That hits all of those things. So if you are here at the beginning of the year and one of your goals is to get healthier or exercise more, quote unquote, like setting yourself up for success with something that's achievable. I'm gonna walk for 15 minutes a day after lunch one time this week. I'm gonna do 15 minutes of body weight squats once this week. Start at the beginning, start small, and grow as you can. Again, success, like I mentioned before, success is in the work, the effort that you put in, and seeing yourself grow. What have you achieved? goes back to my book thing. So goal here is 10 pages a day.
Which is achievable, like especially like with your life of like, hey, full-time job, family, all this stuff. Yeah, like if you're saying I'm going to read a book a week, like it's probably not going to happen.
Definitely not. We just held up these books. Like, so we showed this Nancy Clark book earlier. Like, look how thick this thing is. Not small. It is a total of, if I go back from the index, it is 443 pages. So I'm not going to get that in a week. That's not me.
Yeah, my issue is I always seem to have like, because my goal last year and I'm carrying into this year was to like do mindless scrolling of social media, and the time that I would do that to just replace it with reading. Like goes back to, hey, 10 pages. You can accomplish that pretty quick with the normal time just sitting there just looking at stupid stuff on Facebook. So like I always have like so many books open at the same time. Like I usually have something that's either fitness or nutrition related, something that's kind of self-helpy, so like Atomic Habits. I usually have something by usually a memoir, either by an entertainer, musician, wrestler, athlete, somebody, and then usually have a graphic novel on top of trying to read single comic issues too. So it's just like this constant, like I feel like I'm not making a lot of progress, but then I realize, okay, across everything, I am. I actually read a lot, like 2 pages in each thing. Like,
yeah. And that's, thinking about the big goals that we talk about with clients outside of nutrition and fitness. A lot of those other ones, like the reading pieces, mastering the CU, working your mind, fitness, exercising, I guarantee you, and there's plenty of studies on it, like if you have like a regular workout routine, like your mind works better. Like there's plenty of science on that. I'll probably link a random study here in the bottom that suggests that, but that's like a known thing. But what are some other ways that you can exercise your mind? Reading is definitely one of them. And there's some massive percentage of adults that, like, after they get out of whatever school they're in, so whether it's high school, college, whatever, like they never complete a full book like in the rest of their lives. It's a huge percentage of adults. And I think that's detrimental to a lot of people. Thinking about a lot of the chronic conditions that people have around their mind and their cognitive.
Absolutely.
It's definitely a part of it. And then of course, sleep. Like if I was going to really simple thing for sleep that I don't already do, we talked about it on our sleep podcast, which is no longer the slowest.
Yeah.
episode. But if I had to think about something that you could add in for sleep, I think the simplest solution for most people is thinking about your bedtime routine and like stopping screen time.
I was gonna say the no blue light for 30, at least 30 minutes before bed helps. I'm guilty of that. Consistent bedtime and wake up time, which I know is difficult a lot of times for people, myself included. Uh, the luxury that I had during the pandemic, that was great. Like I had very little else going on, so I kept a consistent bedtime and wake up time 7 days a week, and it was amazing what it did for my mental and emotional health and recovery. And yeah, it was perfect. But obviously, like life gets in the way. Like you're out late one night, you have to get up early the next. Like yeah, if you just that consistent wind down time, lack of blue light before bed, like yeah, I think that's a fantastic way to start.
There's a massive amount of things that happen internally in your body, like when you're sleeping. And so giving your body the time to make sure it can get through all those processes, it's going to help you out tremendously with like everything. Just think about a time in yourself, like when you've been short on sleep, and think about a time comparing that to when you have plenty of sleep. Like if you don't think, oh, I didn't really feel that much better when I slept more, you probably haven't been sleeping enough ever in your entire life.
Right. Because yeah, lack of sleep, brain fog, delayed response time, like yeah, just not fun.
Yeah.
Physical performance, yeah.
I had to work 8 hours following the playoff game the other day. it it was a struggle. I was like, I'm gonna make it. I'm going to make it.
See, that's where I didn't have that consistent wake up window that I talked about. I was like, I'm sleeping yet.
Yeah, I did not have that consistent go to bed time. Like it's hard to do when your team's as good as ours has been for the last couple of years. Hopefully that continues.
Oh, yeah, we're recording this on the third, so yeah, 6 days. Yeah, I will not go to bed at a reasonable time that night. I'm sure the adrenaline will still be pumping, either good or bad, and it will still take a while to fall asleep. So
That is why I requested the day after the championship game months ago. And people,
smart,
yeah,
because I did not.
somebody somebody said, "Isn't that a little hopeful, Ryan?" I was like, "It's not hopeful. It's just being prepared because I can rescind a PDO day, but I can't ask for it off like really late in the game."
Valid. No.
So either way, either way, I'm glad I did because now I will definitely be using it to at least sleep until like 8. Unless the kids will probably wake me up at 7. So, whatever. That's my consistent wake up time. If I don't wake up, my kids will wake me up at 7. The small little face staring at me, going, "Dad, Dad." Like, "Ah!" Like, "Oh, there's a small child in front of me." Okay, oh, that's mine. That's my kid. Okay, all right, I'm good. Let's go.
Paint such a beautiful picture of parenthood.
It really is. I think a lot of people talk about these things because they're comical, but you can't really put into words the joy and like love and things like that. That's kind of impossible.
I can put into words the joy of chugging champagne at 12:15 after a UGA victory and then not having to worry about waking a kid up while doing it. So
You know, I am shocked that night our kids woke up with how loud we were. So I'm just
impressive.
it's because
You
we
have
have
sound sleepers because they have good regimented wind down routines and wake up routines. Perfect. There you go.
very specific things that are like, you're gonna do this and this, how you're gonna go to bed. Well structured for them. Hopefully it continues for the rest of their lives. Probably won't because they'll grow up and be just like us.
Perfect.
And then maybe they'll go back and listen to our podcast on getting better sleep. It'll be archived and like, they'll probably be able to access it just thinking about it instead of
It's implanted in their head.
or is it already implanted in their head? Is this really just the Matrix?
Dun, dun, dun.
I don't know. But the fun thing, this part of this podcast, this would be part 2 of our thinking about recovering from your resolutions and what kind of things can you set up yourself for success, will come out second week of 2023. So the fun part with this is if you're listening to this, there's a high percentage that you've already failed on a resolution. You don't need to set new resolutions. You don't need to do any of those things. But all the things we talked about in this podcast are really simple things that you can add to yourself that it's one day, one small thing that is going to be achievable.
Yep, set yourself up with a win.
But either way, I wonder if we could let's try it. We'll do this and then we'll say again and I'll clip it and I'll drop it back. So like we say every week, maximize every bite.
Maximize every rep.
And then the music will play.